Yes.
Bonus. It's a little bonus,
It's a
right?
bonus. We like
So guys,
bonuses.
look. First of all, Jerusalem.
Right.
Jerusalem, right? The word Jerusalem. In Hebrew we say Yerushalayim, which means city of peace, right? You probably know that. Or completed city, like a city which fulfilled its prophetic destiny. And Yerushalayim is a very ancient name. Jerusalem was mentioned in Egyptian chronicles in like about 4,000 years ago. So it's like 4,000 years ago, Jerusalem already existed. And we know from the Bible, in the story of Abraham and Melchizedek. And who is Melchizedek? He is the king of Salem. What is Salem? Salem is Jerusalem. So Jerusalem in a way is eternal city. So now, and it has a lot of periods of history. And of course, I'm not going to cover them all right here, and it will take a long time, and it's difficult, but we know Jerusalem in the days of Abraham existed. Jerusalem in the days of King David, Pastor actually said he wants to see City of David. We'll talk about it, but maybe we'll be able to see Jerusalem of David, okay? David lived like Abraham roughly 4,000 years ago. David roughly 3,000 years ago. Jesus, we know, 2,000 years ago. It's easy, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Now we are looking at Jerusalem, not of the days of Christ. This is not Jerusalem days of Jesus.
No.
Because I have to say something very, very, the bad news is that Jerusalem from the days of Christ was destroyed by the Romans in 70 AD. Destroyed completely. And therefore, in order to get to the level of Christ, we need to dig. But we are going to see, I told you, we are going to see stones from the days of Jesus. We are going to touch.
We want the truth.
Yeah.
We don't want to be fooled, so you tell us the truth.
Yeah.
No, I'm telling you the truth.
I know you are.
Yeah.
I'm telling you the truth. Okay, but then what happened? 300 years after the days of Christ on earth, because Jesus is always with us, right?
Yes.
Hallelujah.
Yes.
But after his short lifetime on this earth, 300 years later, historically speaking, Jerusalem turned into a Christian city.
Constantine.
In a Constantine, that's right. But before that, Jerusalem was like after destruction in 70 CE, and then in a 2nd century CE, Jerusalem was rebuilt and was called Aelia Capitolina, and it was a pagan city with pagan shrines all over the place. And it changed its name. Remember, Jerusalem? Sometimes there were people who tried to change prophetic destiny and change the name of the city. And they called it Aelia Capitolina after Aelius Adrianus. And the Capitolina, it's like, after the, Roman Capitolus, in its the Roman gods were, like Roman, practically they named Jerusalem after pagan Roman gods, and built those pagan shrines inside the city. And then when in a period of Constantine and Helena, the city turned into a Christian city. Now we are looking at Christian Jerusalem. So for 300 years, approximately from 325 until 638, Jerusalem was Christian. What happened in 638? Muslim invasion. And then Jerusalem turned into a Muslim city, but some churches remain. Now I want to quickly show you different churches and try to a little bit establish a geography, a topography of the city. That's all.
And Karen, can you, where there are ones that we will see before we leave, just point, sort of say, and you will go there, and you will go there.
Absolutely, that's what I was planning on doing. Thank you.
I'm learning. I'm not coach one, so I'm learning.
No, it's okay, no problem. It's all right. Now, guys, behind you is a Mount of Olives. In reality, turn your heads. That's Mount of Olives, Mount of Ascension. Okay, now the model is built in such a way that you are standing looking at the Mount of Olives, but you are the Mount of Olives. Understand what I'm saying? Because right here is if you're talking about model-wise. Okay, this is the Temple Mount. Temple Mount is extremely important to us because here was a temple.
Yeah.
Jesus came to the temple. Temple was built by King Solomon, where the Holy Spirit, the presence of God, we call it Shekhinah, descended upon that place. It's all in the Bible. We'll talk more about it later. I just want to point out quickly. This is the Temple Mount. And there's nothing here. Notice it's an empty place. Just pay attention. Empty place. Why empty? Because in the Christian period there was nothing. The temple was destroyed, and the Christians believed, actually, they believed, church fathers believed that Jewish people were punished for not receiving Jesus, for not acknowledging who Jesus is. And therefore they did not believe that this place is a place of blessing. They didn't feel that the Temple Mount is a place to build a church. Therefore churches were not built on the Temple Mount. According to some historians. According to some historians, there were churches. But anyway, according to person who built this model, no churches, and like a place, and the Muslims later on built their mosque.
Yeah.
Where we see Dome of the Rock and Al-Aqsa, right here. Right now, no mosque, no nothing, because it's after days of Christ on earth and before Muslim invasion. So there's nothing here. Okay, that's we remember. Now, you are on the Mount of Olives. We are going. You are on the Mount of Olives. You are Mount of Olives. This group on the left, right? So now we are looking at what? There is a gate over there down. Can you all see the gate on the other side? This is more or less presently Lion's Gate, where we are going to start Via Dolorosa. We are going to start Way of the Cross the day after tomorrow. We are going to walk on the Way of the Cross, but before we walk on the Way of the Cross, we are going to go to Church of Bethesda. Bethesda on the House of Mercy. You know, where Jesus healed a paralyzed man who was paralyzed for 38 years.
Yeah.
So we're going to be there, guys. We're going to see the actual pool.
The authentic
Authentic pool from the days of Jesus. Okay, and we are going to see ruins of this church you are looking at on the model. You see that church? We are going to see ruins. Church is built right above the pool. We are going to see it. Okay. And then we are going to walk on the Via Dolorosa from there, on like this, until we reach this point of Holy Sepulchral Church, of Church of Resurrection. This is, okay, well, no, it's a bit complex issue. I don't want to talk too much about it, but we have Protestant Golgotha, and we have traditional Golgotha, which is Catholic, Orthodox, and so on and so forth. So I don't want to speak about it much right now, never mind, but I'm just saying, Via Dolorosa, Way of the Cross of Jesus, ends in this place, because according to Christian tradition, here was the place of crucifixion and the resurrection of Christ. And there is another tradition which was established much later, much later, and it's a garden tomb like here, where I am. And then you decide what is right, what's wrong. I'm not into it, I'm just saying there are two places.
That's okay.
It's okay.
That's okay.
Now, so, and the Holy Sepulchre Church is right here. Like, let me move. I need to move around.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I need to pick my bottle. Thank you so much. Okay, I need to move around. Now, right here is more or less roughly, because remember I told you that the walls we are looking at on the model, they are not walls of present city, they are walls of the days of Christ.
Yeah.
At the days of Christian Jerusalem. Okay? So, roughly Jaffa Gate is right here. We will see Jaffa Gate, I will remind you, roughly it's right here. Okay? Now, there is a straight street coming from this gate down to the Temple Mount.
Yeah.
It still exists. It still exists, and now it's a market street. It's a market street. It's a market street. There is another street which is called Accardo. Yeah, over there behind the church. In order to see it, you have to go from that part. That I forgot to mention. Over there is Damascus Gate, Bab al-Amud. And we still see presently remains of that gate in present Damascus Gate, okay, in the 16th century. Okay, and there is a street which is called Cardo. We are going to see some elements of it today.
Brilliant.
Okay,
Thank
yes.
you.
There are remains of the church. The church is called Nea. It's roughly very close to the place where we are now. This is Nea Church, but it's up there somewhere, but not very far from here. This is already Mount Zion. Now guys, this is the Mount Zion, here, Western Hill. Right. This one is the church which is been to. Right here, it's just been. This is the church which was of Holy Christians, which was built on Mount Zion and was dedicated to birth of a church, to the last room and to the upper room. Okay, that's which has been there. It's a Byzantine church. We've been to Crusader part, but the Crusader, remember, okay, quickly, real quick, we established Christian Jerusalem was established in the 4th century. In the 7th century, Muslims came, invaded, destroyed some of the churches. Then in 11th century, Crusaders came and they established Christian churches here for 100 years. So therefore, we come, when almost every important church we go, you see remains from Byzantine period, from the time of Saint Helena and later, like between 4th century and 7th century, and they have a Crusader period as well. Okay? So because Crusaders were Christians, they came and they re-established churches. Okay, so we've been in the Crusader part, but built roughly the same spot where this church was built in the Byzantine period. Actually, there are remains of this church inside of Dormition Church.
Okay.
Where we didn't go, but it's the same spot, and this church was huge. It was a very big building. Okay, now let me...
Karen, before you finish, will you tell us roughly where our hotel is compared to this?
Hotel?
It's over that side, okay.
That way, yeah. Let me figure it out. Okay, Damascus Gate is over there. Okay, let's see what the palm tree is. This direction.
Thank you.
Your hotel is that direction.
Thank you.
And because remember I told you, remember when I was standing when I said about the garden tour?
Yes.
Okay, your hotel is close to the garden tour.
Okay,
So
good.
this garden tour is that way, so your hotel is that way. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, now we are right here, people. We are right now. We are here, right here. Okay. Look, there is a staircase. Right, there's a staircase on a model. So it's an ancient staircase which is believed to be very ancient. It's really ancient. And this staircase, it's like only one a small fragment of their staircase was preserved, but most likely it was a long staircase leading all the way down to Kidron Valley, and then to the Mount of Olives. Okay, and Jesus walked on it. Okay.
Maybe the other group need us now, so shall we go down? Maybe the other group need us.